Hello everyone and welcome back to another video with On Point Politics, and today I'm going to be talking about the Electoral College map in my latest forecast. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this from your place that is the #1 source for all things polling in the United States. And so as of right now, we are seeing that there is definite proof of a completely manufactured surge. Now, is it on purpose by most pollsters? Maybe not. But what you're seeing is that there is a huge oversampling of Democrats. We see with Active Vote's last sample, they actually have Trump up by 2 now. I think they had Harris leading like the other day. Now they have Trump ahead. So he's actually gained from the last poll. But what's interesting is if you look at the party affiliation of the poll before they weigh it, it's 46% Democrat to 28% Republican. There's no way that that would happen in a general election. The electorate has not been that Democrat like ever. Like in a long time that hasn't happened. The last time it was probably that Democrat was when Lyndon B. Johnson won in 1964 by like a landslide in the Electoral College. That's probably the last time the electorate was even that close for that to happen. See, the latest activist vote poll sample was D plus 18. That is huge. And even after they weighed, it's D plus 5. And you could say that's even a kind of a reach because even 2012, it wasn't even that Democrat. I think the electorate in 2012 was like basically tied. And in 2008, it was like D plus 4. It wasn't even that Democrat. So the electorate hasn't even been D plus 5. And given the fact that on Gallup, where they basically track how people lean politically, how that kind of goes, I think people are leaning like 47% Republican now, 40% Democrat as of the last month. And we've seen a consistent trend in Gallup where in 2020, a clear majority of the electorate kind of leaned Democrat, and now like a large plurality, almost a majority lean Republican. So the last sample, I believe, was D plus 2 for the electorate. It was like 37% Democrat, 35% Republican, and the rest were independent. And then Biden won by 4 because he did really good with independent voters. So it's like, I really don't think the electorate's going to be more Democrat than last time, considering that Biden and Harris's favorables are lower. Even right now, even that she's kind of had a sugar high, her favorables are not even as high as they were back in 2020. She had a near like 50% favorability rating or something like that. Like she was pretty high in the favorables. And so there's no way that the electorate is going to even be D plus 3 to D plus 5. It's probably going to be a tied electorate. You maybe are going to have it be R plus 2, D plus 1, R plus 1, like somewhere in that range. It's going to be anywhere from like D plus 1 to like R plus 3 at most. And R plus 3 is like on a good day. That would be like the best day. I really don't think the electorate is going to be any redder than R plus 3 or any bluer than D plus 1. And so even with the post weighting, it's still D plus 5. And if you were to shift it to the most likely, which would probably be like R plus 1, if you were to shift the sample, Trump would be going up from like 2. He would be leading by 7 or 8 points, which is what I had before. And luckily, this pollster is very transparent in the way that they do it, like in the way that they show their weights. But other than that, the polling like now is really oversampling Democrats. And what we notice, it's a lot of white male liberals that are post-bachelors that are answering these polls for Harris, which I think is really strange. You see the male electorate, it's like 63% to 37% female. The electorate last time was like 51% female, 49% male. And then before that, it was like 52% female, 48% male. Like, there's no way it's going to be this lopsided. Female electorate, it's not going to even be female plus 9 or female plus 8, which is showing right here. There's no way that that would happen. There's no way the electorate would be D plus 8 for females or like female plus 8. There's no way that that would happen. And so that's why I don't really trust this sample. Trump would probably be doing better because the electorate would be tied, and he's doing better with males than females. So he'd probably gain a point in this sample. Affiliation should be even more. And he wins with independents by a lot. Like a lot. Like this independent number should actually be even bigger. that number should be a little bit bigger. And this Republican number is where it was in 2020. That's probably going to be a point or two higher than what it was before. And we see white voters, 80% of the electorate, there's no way they're going to be 80% of the electorate. It's probably closer to the high 60s. And what's funny enough is that the Hispanic vote's actually tied here in this poll. And Trump's getting 27% of black voters. The only reason why he's winning the popular vote by like a point here is because he's only winning white voters by like, I think 14, and Trump won them by 17 last time. So that's like the only reason why that's happening. And so that's why you're kind of seeing unfold that there. Low income is tied, middle is going to Trump, and then high income is even tied. That's not even good for Trump because that group tends to break a little bit more Democrat now. And even like some high school is breaking for Trump by 4, which I doubt. That's going to be a way bigger margin. Some college is actually breaking to Trump by more than even regular high school. And then we see post-bachelors, it breaks for Biden by like 4. But we saw that they were heavily oversampled here, and that even the high and middle income groups were kind of oversampled. They're still kind of oversampled a bit there. And we even see that like white voters were heavily oversampled. And so it's like, and I don't even think that this is going to be the margin. I think Trump's going to improve with white voters from last cycle. That's the only way he would gain like 5 points in the popular vote, basically, in any poll. He would have to be improving with whites. And so he's getting a high vote share with blacks, 27%. And this is something I was saying. I was saying that Trump's probably going to get a higher vote share in the polling with black voters against Kamala Harris, and that's what we're seeing unfold. He's literally at 27%. That if he gets 27% of the black vote, it's over. There's no way that Harris is winning the electoral college. Like, there's no way it's happening, because at that point, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan would all be going red at that point. And that would be enough to give Trump the presidency. It would be more than enough. He only needs Pennsylvania and Georgia. But at that point, those states would definitely go to him. The Florida margin, Texas margins would kind of be like expanded. So there's really no way. And even this poll from Oregon that just came out shows Harris within 5 of it. It shows her within 5 points. And what's interesting about the sample is that their crosstabs are free to look at. You can actually look at their crosstabs. And what's really interesting about the crosstabs is if you look at the party identification of the poll, it's actually D plus 10. And the electorate in Oregon was D plus 12 last time. And the female-male electorate is roughly tied. This seems about right. This also seems about correct too. This seems about evenly split as well. And we see voter propensity, 1 out of 4, 1% you, 22%, 2 out of 4. So we kind of see that as well. And I believe that this is a likely voter screen. So I think they pulled everybody who basically votes in all 4 elections. And we see that Harris is only up on Trump by 5. But if these were other liberal pollsters, their sample for Oregon would be like D plus 25. And when they weighed, it would probably come out at D plus 15, D plus 20, and you would see Harris up by like 16 points. Same thing as Biden. So even polls with decent samples show that Harris is within striking distance in a state like Oregon. And my margin in Oregon, I mean, right now is a little bit higher than that, but the electorate in my model is now 3.5 points for Trump based on the current polling. If we look at this, a D plus 9 is there, but if you were to shift the electorate to like R plus 6, R plus 7, D plus 5 to 6 in Oregon would be pretty realistic. And even a poll in Florida had Trump up by 7. But when you look at the crosstabs, the electorate's tied. But in 2020, the electorate in Florida was R plus 8. And that's when Democrats led voter registration by like 88,000 votes. Republicans now lead voter registration by like 950,000 votes as of like last month. And so there's no way the electorate's going to get less red in Florida. It's probably going to be like R plus 13, the electorate, somewhere around there. And then when you factor in that, if you were to shift that poll, that amount to R plus 13, that basically gives you a pretty heavy size of the electorate. That gives you like almost an R plus 15 poll in the state of Florida. And that's not even factoring in them weighing the other groups more accurately, weighing independent voters. And the poll who released that was a pretty liberal pollster as well. So that's very, very interesting. But Now we have this model that goes off the current national data, and clearly it shows, Harris gaining a bit, but it may be because all the national samples are being skewed. And so it's like, okay, if they are really being skewed, then maybe Trump really is still up by 7 to 8 points like we had in our national poll. And based on our national poll, I think Trump was getting in the 20s with African Americans or close to that. He was losing Hispanics by like 22. And we even had a high Democrat sample size. Like our party affiliation size was like D+8 or something like that. Like it was bad. It was bad. Our unweighted sample was like D+8. And then when we re-weight it ended up being like R+2 pretty much. It kind of depends on your poll. But a lot of pollsters either A, don't know how to account for the response bias, or they're just straight up not editing it or not weighing it properly to kind of manufacture that Harris is really ahead. Trump is probably still doing well in these safe red states. You could even argue North Carolina, Georgia. I mean, if Trump is getting 27% of the black vote, he's probably doing better in the Sun Belt than he even is in the Rust Belt, actually, which would be pretty crazy. And we look at, California, that may even be in the likely column if Hispanics are tied. Washington, Oregon would probably be likely. Hawaii would be likely. Alaska would probably be safe. Colorado, I mean, if the electorate's like R+7, like if Trump's winning the popular vote by 7 to 8, like we had in our poll, Colorado would probably be lean. So would Illinois be. So would New Jersey, Delaware. Like these states would probably be in the likely column as well. New York would probably be within 10. In Minnesota, New Mexico, Virginia, New Hampshire, all these states would be lean margins. And we'd have even Maine at large would probably even be lean too. So we may see that the polling is actually skewing the results. And we may actually have the electorate still be what we were saying before. And it's just that now all the polling data is being skewed to the left because all these samples are coming out. And it's funny, if we were to basically add like 2 points to the aggregate, if we were to add about 2 points to the national aggregate, and also Harris's favorables are also being inflated because of the sample sizes as well. So let's say her approval ratings were back to what they were before, and the popular vote lead here is like actually maybe, let's say the difference in approvals is like 6, because that's what it is on 538 actually. Trump is like at 43 and Harris is like at 38. They actually account for the weighing a little bit better on 538 for approvals, and if you were to add that up, Trump would be up by like 7.7%. And here he's winning Virginia, he's winning New Mexico, he's winning New Hampshire, he's winning Minnesota, Nebraska. And we'll see what happens when we basically have to do the new demographic model. The next time we have to do the demographic model, we'll see what happens. But I have a feeling that Trump is probably going to be doing better in Hawaii. He probably may even be doing better in New Jersey and some of these like bluer states. Oregon's literally on the dot, D+5. So it's like everybody, oh, your model is so wrong. I mean, it's going off based off the national data right now, but these people are saying, oh, you're overestimating Trump. I'm probably not, and I've tested this model back actually to 2020 with the approval differences now, and I was able to get an even more accurate result. So actually getting rid of state polling, number one, I can be like, okay, look, there's a D+5 poll out of Oregon, and if you were to shift the electorate enough, you get a very similar to result as to what that poll actually shows. And it's very interesting because it's like, okay, I could sit here and literally tell you guys, look, I'm not using any state polls. I'm going on civics, looking at the difference in their approval ratings. I have my demographic model based off our national poll, the 2016 and 2020 results, and then I go over here, that calculates that out, these margins, and then we have another model down here that looks at the average shift per cycle and kind of calculates where the state's going to be relative to the nationwide environment. And then we kind of go here and we basically see where it aligns. And then Trump, it gets averaged out. That result and then the result over there basically gets calculated out here. And this is what you get. You get Trump up 3.6% in the national popular vote. That's pretty much what you have. And so that's why Donald Trump, despite all of the shift in the aggregate, I mean, is Harris gaining a little? Yes, probably. She probably is gaining a tiny bit, but it may not be as much as people are actually thinking. And if the samples are really that skewed to the point where it's D+18 and then the post weight's D+5, That is a really big problem. And we don't even use standard SoCal research doesn't even use standard typical, the way the polling does it. We use something called poll fish. So across different methodologies, everyone is seeing the same problem. Democrats are enthused to answer the polls too much to the point where they skew the result. And if all the polls were to correct, my model would probably end up producing this national popular vote victory for Trump. And so if you guys did enjoy this analysis, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this. And I will see you guys in the next video.